guys, before we get started with this video, I would just like to say if you're enjoying my content, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and give that notification bell a big ol' smack for me. It helps the channel out a lot. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy the video. Greetings, salutations, my epithet is known as Barney. Okay, I'll stop. Anyways, welcome to Connect the Dots, a brand new series on this YouTube channel. So if you have been paying attention to the community tab, which make sure to start doing that if you haven't already, because that's how you'll be alerted to these sort of things, I made a post about a month ago talking about how I had this idea rolling around in my head of me making a series about interviewing owners and high-ranking members of the groups we troll at. You know, like the cafe games, the hotel games, the restaurant games, yada yada yada, you know, those games. And the reason I thought of doing this is because I think the reason a lot of drama happens between trollers and these groups is, of course, you know, kind of the nature of our relationship. You know, they don't like when we troll, we don't like when they ban us, you know. But I think another reason for that is because there is a lack of understanding from both sides. I don't think these games really understand us trolls, and I think that us trolls don't really understand them. So I figured a good way to start bridging this gap of misunderstanding is maybe bringing owners, high-ranking members, and even representatives of these groups onto a video to interview them, to ask them questions. And then in return, they get to ask me questions. So both sides get to have their questions answered. So that's what it's all about. Now, one thing I want to make very clear is that I am not going to be friends with these people. I'm going to interview them once and then go our separate ways and probably never speak again. Now, the reason for this is because I know that a lot of times, or maybe not a lot of times, but sometimes owners and high-ranking members of these groups can get involved in controversy and drama. Sometimes because they can do dumb things sometimes, and sometimes it's because trolls will be trolls and just fire up drama for no reason. Now, I'm not accusing anybody I'm interviewing of doing stupid things. I'm just saying that sometimes these people can do dumb things and get themselves involved in drama. Now, like I said, I'm not friends with these people. I'm not condoning anything that may or may not have happened. I am not involved in any beef that anybody may have with these people. The only reason I'm doing this, like I said, is to bridge the gap of misunderstanding between us and them. So if anybody out there has any beef with anybody that I interview, or if there's any kind of controversy surrounding these people, I am not involved in it. Yeah, there you go. So anyways, with all that aside, today for the first episode of Connect the Dots, which the reason why I call it that is because you know how these games, a lot of times the people there will go ... or sometimes even dot. So I thought the name Connect the Dots. What do you think there, huh? Was that a creative name or what? Sorry. Anyway, moving on. So today, for the first episode, I'm going to be interviewing the chairwoman of Chicken Shack. Now, this is not a game I go to very often. As a matter of fact, I think I've only gone there, like, what, once or twice? Something like that. But they actually invited me to their Discord after the 20,000 subscriber live stream. So I figured, hey, you know, they're familiar with me. Might as well start there. Now, one last thing, and then we'll get into the interview, I promise. I know, I've said a lot. I want to hear what you guys think of this interview in the comments, because I don't know if I'm going to make this a series or not, because if you guys don't like this, then I'm not going to do it. But if you guys like it, then maybe I will reach out to other groups and see if they want to get interviewed as well. So please, after you've listened to the whole interview, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. But anyways, now that we've got all that aside, we can finally jump into this interview. I hope you guys enjoy it. Alrighty, here we go. Connect the dots. Here we go. So, I am here with the chairwoman of Chicken Shack. How are you doing today?
Very well, and yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm a little bit nervous, not gonna lie, because I've never done something like this before. So, you know, but I'll work my way through it. So, for those who don't know what this is Connect the Dots. I think I already gave you an explanation of what it is. Basically, it's just I interview high-ranking members and owners of groups, and with her being the chairwoman of Chicken Shack, I think she can be a representative of the group as a whole. So, without wasting any more time, we can get started. So, since you are the guest on here, I'll let you go first on asking questions.
Great. So, what got you into making a YouTube about, like, trolling?
So basically, like, what
Yeah,
got me into doing trolling videos, or just YouTube as a whole?
kind of both.
Okay. Well, to start with, what got me into YouTube is it was a long time ago because I made my channel, I think, in mid 2012. And what it was is I watched a YouTuber called Sky Does Minecraft. I don't know if you know who he was, but he was a guy I used to watch all the time. And he was my role model for a long time. And I was like, I really want to make videos like he does. But I didn't have Minecraft at the time because I didn't have money to buy the game. So then on top of all that as well, I had a friend who introduced me to Roblox way back in 2011. And then eventually one day I decided, you know what? I want to make a YouTube channel so I can start commenting on my favorite YouTubers' videos. And on the same day, I ended up uploading a video where I met Shedletsky, one of the main moderators at Roblox. And then from that day forward, I kind of just started uploading. But I didn't start trolling until way down the line years later. So I made the channel in mid 2012, but the trolling I think only started in like 2018, I think. But the videos didn't gain really much traction until early 2019. That's when I started doing those. And what got me into actually doing trolling is I saw other YouTubers like Albert Stuff or Flamingo, call him what you will, and Green Lego Cats doing videos at Frappe. Actually, that's where it all started with that. And plus, I already liked trolling because in 2018 I made videos on Discord about using a voice changer program to make my voice sound ridiculously high and just do stupid things in voice chat. So I already liked trolling, and then I already was a player of Roblox, and then I got inspired by Albert and Cow. So it seems like the pieces were already there. They just had to be put together, and boom, out came the videos, and then up came the channel.
That's pretty cool. Do you enjoy what you do?
I definitely enjoy what I do. Absolutely. There are times when, I'll be honest, sometimes when I don't want to record. Like, maybe I'm having a bad day, or maybe I was just tired that day. For the grand majority, it is fun, but even for a job that's literally about just trolling, there are times when I don't want to do it. But overall, yes, it is a very enjoyable thing to do.
That's pretty cool. Do you ever get bored of it, or have no motivation to continue trolling videos? Or do you ever have do you ever want to try something new with your channel?
I've definitely had thoughts like that before. Like, there have been times in the trolling community where drama has erupted because it's unfortunately the nature of trolls to cause drama. I try not to be a part of that, but that is unfortunately the nature of trolling. Back when I had a Discord chat, there a lot of times would be drama that would erupt in there, and that would definitely be something that would demotivate me, seeing how toxic some people can be sometimes. Not everybody is toxic, obviously. In fact, I think most people are good people in the trolling community, but I think it's just the bad apples that get the most attention. You could argue that's kind of how it is in almost anything. Unfortunately, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, if you understand what that means. So that's definitely one thing. And yeah, I do sometimes get a bit bored with, maybe not bored, but sometimes I'm just, like I said earlier, I'm not in the mood to record, but I have to anyway. But most of the time, yeah, I think I like it. And have I ever wanted to make different content? Yes, 100%. And that is why I made my second channel, the Barney's Weird Antics it is called, because I satisfy my desires to make different videos on there. Like, I have a Minecraft survival series that's going on over there right now. In fact, I just finished, before you called me, I finished a video of me trolling on Among Us by going around public servers and just calling emergency meetings for no reason. So there are times when I want to record other things, but that is where the second channel comes into play.
That's nice. Thank you for answering that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, you have any other questions about, trolling or anything in general?
Not really. Do you have any questions for me?
Yep. Okay, so what is the story of what got you to where you are? What was it that got you to be the chairman of Chicken Shack? What was the steps that led to it?
So last year, I came into Chicken Shack on January 1st because my friend worked there. Mm-hmm. So she introduced me there. So I came in as a high rank. And then throughout time, I got promoted and I became closer friends with the founder.
Mm-hmm.
And then the founder, he lost motivation. The group went through some ownership changes. And then towards the end of the year, another one of my friends, he was the owner, and he decided that he wanted to pass it down to me instead of selling it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I got to be where I am right now.
So it was kind of a combination of working your way up the ranks and knowing the right people, basically.
Yes. But if I remember correctly, I've been kind of like the co-owner image for around over a year now. I believe I
Mm-hmm.
became that in April or March last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. So, have you ever worked in other groups, or is Chicken Shack the only one that you've ever worked at?
No, my first Roblox job was actually Prince Clothing, which is a clothing home store place where people just role play in there. They help guests like find clothes and stuff. And that was back in 2017, 2018.
Oh, so this is a while
And then,
ago.
yeah. And then I took a break throughout all of 2019. And then I came back and I got into Chicken Shack and I've been here ever since.
Well, that's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so what is if somebody were to ask you to give an explanation on trollers, like what your honest opinion on trollers is, what would it be? And you don't have to hold back on anything just because I'm a troller. If you have criticism on trollers, I can take it. Just full on, no filter. What is your opinion on trollers?
Now I just think they're just people who want to have fun or like get a reaction of the people who work at like internet jobs. But before, back in like 2017, I used to think they just wanted to give everyone a hard time and they
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know, like they had a negative impact, I guess. But now I think they're funny, and I personally never really ban anyone for trolling unless they're like being extremely disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
I actually even talk to trollers. I'm like, thank you for being here or something.
Yeah, you mentioned the other day when I messaged you, or rather yesterday, because I brought this idea to you, saying, hey, let's do an interview or something. You mentioned how Chicken Shack is a lot less strict on trollers than other games. Can you maybe like elaborate on that a little further on why you believe that?
Yeah, because most of our staff, since we sell ranks, they're already not as strict, and we believe that everybody should have a chance to like correct their mistakes, or like we usually just ask the trollers like, "Hey, can you stop this?" Or we talk to them
Mm-hmm.
and we have conversations with them. But there are those like staff members that are like really strict, and they get upset when action isn't taken against trollers. And I'm like, hey, it's okay. They're just trying to have a good time. There's no need to escalate situations to where it becomes toxic.
So
Yeah.
So this is a big topic for me, and I made a whole video on this. I don't know if you watched it, but it's trolling versus bullying. Now, this is, I think everybody could give a different answer on what the difference could be. Some people may think there's not a difference. Some people may say there is a difference. If you think there is a difference between trolling and bullying, what do you think the difference is, if there is one?
I believe trolling is just, like making jokes, not really disrespecting anyone. And then bullying is like literally like body shaming or calling names or like even saying slurs.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, I've seen slurs a lot more amongst like trollers, which is pretty disappointing. But
Mm-hmm.
if you ask them to stop, they usually stop. But I don't know, I still don't think it's okay to do that.
So you've seen a lot of slurs from like people bypassing the filter, right?
Yes.
Do you see that kind of thing like commonly at Chicken Shack? People using slurs and just using bypasses to say inappropriate things? Is that a common thing among trollers?
Not necessarily at Chicken Shack, but when I visit other groups, I do see it a lot.
Yeah, I definitely don't like when people do that myself. Like, I think that if you're going to bypass the chat filter, which that's already kind of taking a risk in of itself, but if you're going to bypass, do it in a way that's not like offensive. But a lot of times the reason they're bypassing is because they're saying something offensive. So You know.
Yeah, or inappropriate.
Yeah. Okay. So, in your experience, have you ever felt genuine offense because of something that a troller has said to you?
No, not really, but I don't really take anything anyone says like to heart
Mm-hmm.
because then that just like ruins the entire day or your mood. Yeah, no. I feel like
Yeah.
everyone has like their reasons for being the way they are, and I just choose not to take anything to heart.
Yeah, and I think that's important for somebody in your position or anybody that has some sort of influence is you have to have some backbone. You really need to know how to just roll with the punches because when you become when you have a spotlight put on you, you will unfortunately bring attention to, some bad people as well. And I think that's important to be able to just roll with the punches. And I've had to do that for quite a while myself. So there is a very prominent rumor in about cafe, restaurant, hotel games that says that, and I'm not confirming or denying it. This is just what the rumor says: is that games like yours, Chicken Shack, and others promote people based on how quote aesthetic their avatars are. What is your thoughts on rumors like that?
I believe that that may be true for some groups because I have seen, like, if you, I'm not going to mention any names just to not bring any negative attention to
Yeah.
them, but if you see certain groups and you go through their ranks and the people in those ranks, they typically have some amount of Robux and they typically dress a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
However, I like to believe that's not true at Chicken Shack because we have this point system in place where if they get X amount of points or above, they get a chance to be promoted. Therefore, it's not just based on how they look or like maybe how they like interact with others. It's solely based on their work.
Okay, yeah, that works. Okay, so this is we're going into the questions that I got from the community post now. For those unaware, I did make a community post on this about a month ago. I think I already explained this earlier in the video. So one question that somebody asked is why isn't trolling allowed?
Trolling isn't allowed mainly because it disrupts the environment in the game. Some people get easily offended by things that trollers do, so we try to keep the environment a safe place for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
including trollers. That's why we're kind of lenient towards them.
Now, one thing that I think a lot of trollers will say is, and I've seen this quite a bit, is some trollers will say, "Oh, well, people are such sensitive snowflakes nowadays. People got to learn to just not take offense to these things." Now, I don't, I'm certainly not somebody who believes that, but that's something that a lot of trollers will say. If somebody were to say something like that to you, what would you say in response?
I would say that everyone reacts to things differently, and everyone has different levels of like emotions. Like something that might hurt you might not hurt them, and then vice versa as well. So I think it's important that everyone respects those boundaries just so that everyone has a good time.
So, in a lot of these groups, sometimes trollers will claim there's a lot of admin abuse that goes on in these groups. Now, I can't speak for Chicken Shack because I don't know much about your group, but they say that a lot of these groups have a lot of admin abuse problems and corruption involved. Do you believe that this is a thing that may be a problem in the industry as a whole, or do you think this is just something that trollers are kind of just exaggerating about?
I believe that it's like 50-50. Some groups definitely do have like admin abuse problems. Like Chicken Shack itself did have admin abuse problems last year when it was more active.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we had like a few cases every day.
Oof.
Corruption, yeah, it was tough time, but it's okay. And then for the corruption, some groups might. Um, I personally believe that Chicken Shack did also go through a stage where it was kind of corrupted, kind of like the SHRs kind of favoritized certain people or like certain community members. They were able
Mm-hmm.
to get away with a lot more. But I do believe we have grown since then, but we are still not perfect and there's still more growth to do regarding that.
Well, that's fair. That's definitely fair. Now this is an argument that I've been very vocal about. Now, I'm not saying this to make any offense to you or anything. This is just a personal opinion of mine, and this is one that a lot of trollers have, is that groups should not sell ranks because it ends up causing problems for the group. Like examples, like I made a video a few weeks ago at Nova Hotels where I saw a admin abuser who had bought a rank that gave him owner permissions. That's one thing that many trollers will say is you shouldn't sell ranks because, number one, it can cause admin abuse problems, and number two, because it will allow people to leapfrog over people who work their way to their ranks. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that to make any offense to you or anything. I mean, you can monetize your group the way you want to. I can't tell you how to do that. But what would you say in defense of how selling ranks works?
That's a really good question. I believe that, okay, so last year when I came into Chicken Shack and I found out that they were selling ranks, I personally didn't like it as well because I was used to working my way up in places. But as time went on, I found out that selling ranks isn't as bad as it seems on the outside because you can always have restrictions to the rank sellings, to the admin commands they have access to, and you can also have like channels in the Discord where it logs what they have, which is how we were able to catch a lot of the admin abusers, and we do have pretty strict rules regarding that as well. People do get like consequences based on the severity of their actions.
Okay, that's fair. Now, this is probably the most common question that trollers will ask all the time. What is the point of working at a virtual cafe? What do you gain out of it? What is the appeal to it?
I actually get this question a lot too. So basically, it just gives people the opportunity to be in a quote-unquote work environment. It gives them experience on like what to kind of expect in real life. Although it is not always all true, it still gives them like a little dip in the pool to know what to expect, or like it just gives them a little experience. Like I have one of the presidents actually, she was telling me how it really helped her, like her character development and how to sound more professional, and yeah.
I think that there is definitely some truth to that, because a long time ago I used to be involved in Roblox groups myself. Not like restaurant groups or anything, but I was involved in a police group first, then a military group, and then a Star Wars Jedi group. So it was a lot more serious groups, and it's because of working at those groups that nowadays I still have the habit to use proper grammar all the time. Like people will sometimes ask me, Barney, why do you use proper grammar all the time? What are you, one of these admins at one of these games? And I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's just a habit because I worked at these places and the habit of doing this just kind of stuck. Now, obviously, it's not bad to not use proper grammar, but that's an example of, you can build up good habits by working in an environment that is positive for you. So I think that there is definitely some truth to that, definitely. But one thing that I think trollers will also say is, why don't people get real jobs instead of working at a pixelated one? Why don't they get real ones?
Actually, I've met people that actually have a job in real life and still work like in a pixelated job. They say it's a different dynamic, and their virtual jobs are usually just to like have fun or like get their minds off their like actual life and like their stress. So it's a way to like let go for them.
Yeah, that I can definitely see that being the case, because having a place to kind of just get away from struggles that you may have in real life is definitely, I think, important. Like for me, it was YouTube. For me, it's YouTube. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of trollers out there who use trolling as their avenue to, get to either let their stresses out, and in a lot of cases, that's what ends up, making people toxic sometimes, is by letting their stress run their life, or it's used as a distraction from it. So I think that's definitely a true case. Okay, so one question somebody asked is, how often do people get demoted? The way they phrase it is how many people have gotten demoted over the years, but I figured a better way to say it is how often do people get demoted?
Well, I can only speak for Chicken Shack because I haven't really been in any other groups recently.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah.
So usually there's like a few a week, I would say, maybe like four. Usually those are like due to admin abuse or like they're severely toxic to other people within the group.
Mm-hmm.
And then other than that, with our point system, it's just anyone who was inactive within a 3 week period, and that can range between 10 to like 20 people.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So one thing I've noticed from being a prominent YouTuber in the trolling community now for about 2 years is when I started doing trolling videos and my videos took off, I always kind of assumed that when I made videos at places, that the places wouldn't like it. Because, you know, they make it very clear that they don't like trolling. But a lot of times when I make my videos here, and I'm sure this happens with other YouTubers too, is they actually find these videos funny, they like them. Even sometimes workers of the games will comment saying they enjoyed it. So, you know, it does confuse me sometimes because on one end, when I'm in the game, they act like it's the worst thing in the world that I'm trolling. But then when I post it on my channel, they treat it like it's this great comedy show that they just watched. So, I mean, I'm a little bit confused on that end sometimes. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Are you talking like just in general, like
Yeah.
all groups?
I mean, yeah, I guess you could say in all groups, but is that a thing at Chicken Shack too? That, like, when you guys see trolling videos made there, do you guys find them entertaining, or do you guys usually not appreciate them?
I personally find them entertaining, and I know a lot of other people do too. Like the last time you went to Chicken Shack when you hit 20K, I was actually getting reports. They were like, "Hey, there's a YouTuber trolling here," and I was like, "Okay, I'll head down." And you guys weren't even trolling, and I was like, "Can you guys please stop kicking them?" And then they stopped, and then that's when everybody like started crowding you in a way, I guess. And they were like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, that was a good time too. That was a great time. Now, another thing, the one rule that I see a lot at games, and in fact I was just at Solera Hotels messing with this rule, is a lot of games will get upset when you abuse caps, when you abuse capital letters. Now, I've never really had an issue with it. When I had a Discord server, I let people abuse caps as much as they wanted to, as long as it wasn't like flooding the chat, you know? Like, if it wasn't major spam, I would allow them to abuse caps. But sometimes games will get very strict about the abusing caps rule. I don't know if that's a thing at Chicken Shack or not, but I don't know if, like, you had any ideas on why these groups are this way, that are so strict with that?
I believe that also has to do with the disruptive environment, because sometimes when people use all caps and it's like a big message, the chat bubbles take up a pretty good amount of space. And if you're on mobile, that kind of covers a lot of your screen. So I guess people just do it to like try to, again, give everyone the best experience. However, I personally don't mind people caps abusing as long as it isn't like excessive or, like you said, spamming, just because I don't expect people to act like robots. Obviously, people use all caps on a daily basis, and I don't know, I feel like it's a way for them to express themselves as well.
So, let's see here. So the one thing that, and this is not something I say, but this is something I think other trollers will say, is that, and I think this is a little ridiculous of them to say, but because I think the reason why you guys do this goes without saying, but sometimes trollers will say, why bother banning people if they can just come back on alt accounts? Why bother doing it? I already know the answer to this question, but just thought I'd throw it out there.
It's to just basically give them a consequence and is like, hey, this is not okay. And they can come back on alt accounts, but this is where a lot of groups, they put like an age limit, and usually that ranges between 5 days to like 20, just to like, so they can't bypass that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, the way I was thinking about it is, like, yeah, it gives a consequence, and it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Just let them sit there and keep doing it? Like that's, you can't just let them sit there and keep spamming or something. Like, you have to sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I do laugh a little bit when people say that. Like, and I used to say that, too. And I feel so stupid for saying things like that back in the day. Ay, ay, ay. Now, one thing that I think a lot of people categorize the trolling community with is toxicity. I'm sure you've seen your fair share of trolls. You've seen your fair share being the chairwoman. How often do you think you see a troll, or rather, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. Of all the times you've seen a troll, how often do you think they're toxic? Do you think more of them, more times than not, they're toxic, or do you think more times than not, they are just there to have a good time?
More times than not, they're just there to have a good time. Like I said, when I join, I usually try talking to them, and then we end up having conversations, and they just stop trolling, and they're like, "Oh, I actually like this group."
Mm.
So yeah, so I think they just troll to like get a reaction out of people.
That's
You know,
definitely
yeah.
That's definitely the case. Yeah, they definitely do it to get a reaction out of people. So, with you being a lot less strict on trollers, and I think that's a very rare thing when it comes to these groups on Roblox, if you were to say something to, like, other groups, like Frappe, Boba, Solera, any of the others, although Frappe, I think, has gotten a lot more lenient with trollers as well. I was just throwing random names out there. If you were to give advice to them on how they can more properly deal with trollers in a better way, what would you say to them?
I would say that they should give them a few like reminders, or like even just try having conversations with the trollers. More often than not, they'll actually talk to you and they'll stop what they're doing, and maybe you'll even make a new friend, or like they'll become a, a like daily visitor, like concurrent player.
Yeah. And that actually leads into another thing. Another thing that trolls will claim is that games like these wouldn't be able to function if trollers did not exist. Do you think this is true? Does it have some truth to it, or do you think it's just completely BS?
If it has some truth to it, a lot of the cafe, restaurants, hotels, they kind of depend on trollers simply because they bring activity from the staff and activity from like customers, because some customers like to give trollers a hard time and the staff a hard time. They're like, "Oh, you're not handling this right." Or they try to help the staff like handle the trollers. They're like, "Hey, can you stop?" It's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like they go hand in hand.
Yeah. So here's probably like the last few here. So the main reason why I'm doing this series, Connect the Dots, is because I think there's a major misunderstanding between groups like yours and others and the trolling community. But if you were to define what you think what these misunderstandings are, what it is that keeps us from understanding each other, what do you think it is?
I think that the main misunderstanding is the workers at places, they think that the trollers are just there to like troll, and like they have nothing else to do, and if they get like consequences they won't come back. And then I feel like trollers just want to give the staff a hard time because they think it's stupid that they have a virtual job and that they spend so much time online working there.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if they all had like conversations and tried to talk to each other, uh, these gaps would like close, maybe, or maybe not close, but they would like,
Not be as wide. They would be closer to being closed.
yes, definitely,
I,
because there will always be like bad apples that refuse to like try to get along.
And I think the nature of the relationship between troller and cafe game or whatever they are, I think there's always, no matter what, it's just the nature of the relationship between the communities, there's always going to be some tension there. Because if you think about it, we're kind of like rivals. The way I've described it in the past is it's kind of like how on a sports field there's two different teams, you know? They are against each other on the field, they are rivals, but they're not enemies. And that's what I kind of wish it was more like with trollers and these games, is that we're rivals. You know, at the end of the day, we are still trying to kind of, for lack of a better term, defeat each other. That's not exactly what I mean, but you know what I'm trying to say. But we don't hate each other. We're rivals, but we don't hate each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Okay. Oh, here's a good one. I'm surprised I didn't think of this one. So this is probably the most maybe not the most common question. I think I've said that about another one. Why is grammar so strict in these games? Why is it that grammar is held in such high regard?
I believe it's just to differentiate a customer slash troller or like visitor from people that actually work there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It also gives them a chance to like work on their actual grammar. It might help them like in school because they might like get new terms that they can use, or it can also help them in the future when they decide to go out into the real world and like get a new job or their first job.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, because like I mentioned earlier with my groups, like they forced it into my brain so much to use grammar that even like almost 4 or 5 years after leaving these groups behind, I still have the habit to use grammar. I just decided to never get rid of it. And I don't think that's a bad habit to use proper grammar all the time. I think it's a good habit to do that. So I guess I've heard that it's to retain professionalism as well. I've heard that that's another reason why these groups do that.
Yeah, that's also true. But notice like throughout time, they mostly just like have them do it in game, and in the Discord servers they don't really care as much. They're more lenient.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Oh, here's one. So, what are probably the hardest things about your job? The things that are the biggest burdens on you?
Definitely development. It is very hard to find a developer that will actually like stick through what they say they would do. Thankfully, one of the, well, actually, all of the chairmen help me with that. One of them is the head developer, so I leave most of the development to him. I'm just asked like opinions on it. And another thing is making sure that like your entire staff team gets along. There's no toxicity.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no toxicity and like they're not like going against each other, because I believe that the staff team of these groups are a definite backbone to keeping the group active and
oh,
having
uh-huh.
a good community.
Yeah, they are definitely the back, especially the super high ranks. Especially the super high ranks.
Yes, definitely. And it seems like the super high ranks are usually the ones that get along the most, but when they fight, it's usually the worst ones because
Ooh.
they take a while to resolve.
And then a lot of times everybody will know about it. Sometimes these kind of things will get leaked out, and sometimes they won't be. Sometimes they're behind closed doors, but sometimes they can just explode, and everybody and their brother will know about it.
Yeah, and then like basically everyone resigns, and then a day later they want to come back, and I'm like, okay, that happened, I guess.
Ay, ay, ay. Alright, let's see. Oh, actually, wow, oddly enough, is the next question. How often do people resign? How often does that happen?
Thankfully, it's not very often. I would say we get at least one person a week. It's mostly us demoting people due to um, X reason, usually admin abuse.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have any questions you want to ask to me now? Because I asked you quite a bit. Is there any questions you want to ask me about trollers or anything?
Not necessarily trollers, but maybe like about your, just one question about your like career. Like, is there any YouTuber that you would like to collab with in the future?
That's an interesting question because I used to be all about doing collabs, but the thing was I didn't do them very often. Like, I did a collab with Sesamert twice. I did one with Naturality. But the thing is I do want to reach out to other members in the trolling community, but unfortunately, as trolls are, there's a lot of drama that ends up happening, and I do my very best to stay the frick away from that drama, because drama just doesn't ever end well, especially if you're in a position like I am, where I have not a major following, but maybe major for trolling YouTubers, maybe, but a significant following. I guess we could just put it at that. So if I was to collab with another YouTuber, and this YouTuber has a bunch of people that don't like them, I don't want them thinking that, oh, I support this YouTuber in whatever they may or may not have done. And I actually there was a lot of drama that happened in the trolling community within the past few months, and because of that, I had to just pretty much keep myself from even mentioning people's names, let alone even collabing with them for a long time. But if there was trollers I would want to collab with, I mean, there's plenty of others. I think there's plenty of talented trolling YouTubers out there that I would 100% go for, but I don't really want to mention them by name because of the whole thing with drama. You know, I just don't want people thinking that, you know, oh, I'm taking this person's side in the drama, or I'm taking this person's side, so we have to start attacking him now. Because literally that's all it takes for people, unfortunately, to think that, you know, oh, hey, he took that person's side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And like they'll literally nowadays they'll just look for any reason to quote unquote cancel a person, even if it isn't something bad.
Yeah.
Just because you talk to someone, they're like, oh, let's cancel this person now.
Yes, cancel culture is a big problem, and you know, but even if you don't like it, I think it's a good thing to be careful about what you say, especially on the internet. But in general, it's good to be careful about what you say. But you shouldn't. I shouldn't have to be careful to the point where I can't even interact with other members. Like, I'm even taking a bold risk doing this interview right now, because people may think that, oh, he's in support of this, or I don't even know what they could like target me for. But I'm taking a bold risk just by doing this, because I have no idea how the community is going to respond to me doing this. So it's nuts that I have to worry so much. But I figured that this is an important enough thing that I'm going to be like, you know what? There's a risk involved, but I'm going to see what happens anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like this is a bit, oh my gosh, stuttering.
I do that all the time, don't worry.
This is a big risk on both parts, because again, like the communities I'm a part of, they're also like against trolling. So it's like, oh, why is she talking to a troller? Does she want our game to get rated? Like, no, we're just trying to, you know, close the gap.
Exactly. Yeah, so, I mean, if you don't have any other questions, I guess that's where we could call it. I think I've been recording now for almost 40 minutes. This is going to be quite a video to edit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, that's going to be fun.
This was fun, though.
Yeah, it was definitely an eye-opener, and I hope that everybody that was watching this thought so as well. So, yeah, that was the first episode of Connecting the Dots. Thank you very much, Miss Chairwoman, for coming on here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me and like being the first guest on this new series that you're creating.
Yeah, so if you guys did enjoy this, do let me know in the comments. And if you have questions you want to ask to a potential future guest, or maybe she'll see this video, maybe she'll respond to comments, who knows. So if you have a question you want to ask, let us know in the comments below. And if you want to go check out Chicken Shack, you can go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and leave the link in the description. I hope I remember to do that. So, if I forget, I apologize, but I should remember. But yeah, do you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, just thank you for having me, and like thank you to your subscribers for watching your videos.
Alrighty, then I guess that's it for now. So, make sure to look forward to episode 2. And like I said, let us know what you thought of this series, because I'm not going to do it if you guys don't care. So, like, if people don't care, I'm not going to do it. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, all that yada yada yada. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!